Then the two items on our agenda today. The primary reason why we're meeting is related to the solar block proposal and the solar energy project at the junior senior high school. And we have one more item if we need to get into it that's related to our reopening plan, and we may or may not have to do anything with that. So with that, thank you, Jason, for being here. I know that we're waiting for one more person from your company to join us. And Jay, thank you for reaching out and asking us to respond to the proposal. So with that, I will turn it to you, Jason, and we'll listen to your presentation.
Do you want me to give a summary quick, Jason, on how we got together, or we'll skip that?
That's fine if you want to start there, and then I can go, and hopefully by then Scott will be joining us, so that's fine.
Okay, basically about 3 years ago, the committee was involved with two things. I hear somebody talking.
No, Daddy has to approve of. I can download it without it right now.
No, Jen,
Hold on.
Yep.
you need to mute.
Got it.
Okay, she's got it now. Okay, about 3 years ago, the Energy Committee was looking at meeting the green community requirements, which is one of them. We have to reduce our energy by 20%. And with that being, we're looking at all the buildings in the town, all 7 departments. And we come across some material on solar block. We invited Jason and his other partners in, and they briefed the Energy Committee. And basically for the last 3 years, Jason and his company have been doing all the, all the work on creating the product. And we've been sort of his partner or advisor and telling him all the green community requirements and changes as they come up. So when he's designing his product, he knows ahead of time what to expect when he goes into the state and the green communities. So Jason will have it all set to include the latest one of the 6 air exchanges per hour, which we're looking for. I'll let Jason go from there, because I mean, unless you want me to do more, Jason, I think that's enough.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Jay, and thank you to the school committee for pulling this together so quickly. My name is Jason Laverty. I'm the president and co-founder of a company called Solar Block. We're based in East Hampton. We're a very local company. We're a brand new product. This is brand new technology. It's utilizing existing technology in the photocells that you would see in your traditional solar panels. So it's monocrystalline PV cells that we use in this product. The new technology part of this is the combination and taking what people think of a solar panel and changing it to fit into a vertical application known as solar block. So the concrete itself is a very, very big part of it. So the concrete is utilized as what you might see as the frame, and the structure and the mounting is actually the concrete. So it's just like a regular block, except it produces electricity by the sun. So it's pretty amazing what we've come up with here. We have a demonstration up in Chicopee, Massachusetts at Chicopee Mason Supply, who is our manufacturer of the blocks. The panels are all being made locally in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. The wiring and connectors are being made in Pittsfield as well, and the wiring harnesses come from North Adams. So it's 100% right now, currently, a Massachusetts-based manufactured product. So we're looking to go to the next level and start getting this out. We're looking for pilot areas and platforms to showcase our product, as well as demonstrate the power of the technology in creating green, usable electricity on the site of the building. So instead of transmitting it through a solar farm and going through the grid, now it's directly on the building to power the buildings that need that power and to offset the potential power needs. When we first met with Jay, we were looking purely just at solar block being a energy reducer for the school, as well as adding the insulation value to a school that really there is no insulation in that school whatsoever. Then COVID happened, and everybody knows the impacts of the COVID with the air exchangers and adding more mechanicals to a school that's going to increase its energy usage and not really keeping in par with the green communities and trying to lower those costs and potentially, helping with that as Solar Block will. So we're looking to utilize the school itself, the north and the south wall. So the wall facing the parking lot where the entrance is, and then one of the back walls that faces the field, and putting up Solar Block from the ground level to the roof and capture that data on a small scale for a pilot program to demonstrate to the state and the federal government how well Solar Block works in an actual school facility and what it can be capable of doing. And the power that's generated on site will be used on site. We're going to collect the data and just see how much energy we're producing, but that energy is going to stay on site and be able to knock down the energy usage in the building itself. We're really excited about this because it's local to us. It's something we can keep an eye on and really make sure it comes out right, does well. And the ultimate plan for this product would be to demonstrate to them that we could do this and potentially do the entire school or a majority of the school to offset these power needs that are just tremendous. And the amount of fossil fuels that's being used in terms of, I was in your boiler room and it's like looking at a couple of old locomotive engines, it's massive, is tremendous. So we're hoping that we could generate enough power to offset that with potential new air conditioning and heating units that are very efficient through electricity to kind of lower the burden on the fossil fuel consumption in the school as well. The great thing about Solar Block, on top of everything else that we've talked about, is net zero carbon neutrality. It's a big part of our world. It's some of the new language that's coming out from politicians, Washington, D.C., the state government. Solar Block itself has embodied carbon when it's made. There's carbon in everything. By producing and generating green energy over its lifetime, in 3.5 years, Solar Block becomes carbon neutral, the product itself. So as the lifetime of the block continues producing electricity, it offsets other carbon, which is going to be a very big impact for the future of construction and the future of buildings. One of the other great things that the Granby School offers to Solar Block as a blank slate, if we want to call it that, is the fact that it is a very old school. And it also shows the capabilities of Solar Block to be utilized in a very great retrofit situation to demonstrate the ability that, you don't have to take down these buildings. You can fix them and you can improve them. And by doing that with green energy solutions and really pushing the boundaries of what we're capable of, we're really excited about that chance to do that and work with the school at that level. So.
I'm sorry if I disappeared, but we lost power at our house. So our auxiliary generator had kick on. That's why I was lost and I came back.
It's okay.
So I know all what Jason is going to say, so I
Cool.
had no problem whatever he said.
Is that all you have, Jason, for now?
Yeah, I would just, here to kind of introduce myself, introduce the product. I have a block next to me. In terms of where the product is right now, currently, we're still in testing. So the product has to go through what they call UL, Underwriter Laboratories. They're testing it for all of its safety needs to be considered an electrical unit for shock, for spontaneous combustions, overloading of electricity, to say we're going for a 1,000 watt capability. Or 1,000 volts, 1,000 volt capability with the product. So they're going to test it at 3 times that to make sure that under strain or under extreme conditions, there's not going to be any failures with the product. And then we can work on that and say, okay, great. Now our manufacturers can then go forward and set those warranties for the product and go forward that way. So we're looking to be out of testing. We're entering just after the new year with physical testing. We've been in testing with them for about 6 months on what they call a desktop review, which they look at all the blueprints. They look at physical prototypes, but in piece form, not together, not hooked up. And they check it to make sure it passes all their little red flags that they have about the product. And then they also diagnose it to say, okay, how are we going to test it? What tests does it need to pass? And once it goes into physical testing, that's about a 2 to 3 month process. So we're entering into that after Christmas, the new year rather. And we should be ready, if all goes well that we're planning on, that we'll be ready for April to have product available. So we are working with other schools. You are not our only school that we're working with. We're working with Lexington, Massachusetts, the regional vocational school there, Minuteman. We have a project slated to go on one of their outbuildings as soon as the product comes out of UL. That's going to be one of our first installs. And we're actually going to be doing that with the student body as well, because they are a vocational training program. So one of the unique things we're capturing is it's future technologies being installed by future installers. So we're excited about that program as well. So if anyone has any, go ahead, check.
Did you want to tell them about Minuteman and vocational, the students or have
Yep.
already built a
Yep.
building there with this technology? So they have a masonry course. So it's not like it's totally new to them. They've been using it.
Yeah, that's in the process, Jay. We haven't completely built that system, but yeah, no, I just filled the folks in. So
Okay.
if anyone has any question, I can kind of change my computer. If someone wants, let me see if I can get it in the screen. So there's, to my left here is an example of our functioning prototypes. So it looks like it's black glass. It is glass. The PV cells are inside here. They interconnect on the surface and they link together like a chain. For that, we have tamper resistant electrical housings and everything like that. And one of the great things about this product is its ability to work with other masonry products. It's the same thickness as a standard brick. So it can be involved with other bricks or other block products if you want to do banding or a special accent over windows and things of that nature as well. So,
Jason, I know that there are many questions, and
I bet there are. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to turn it to the committee for those questions, but I just want to clarify one thing. So the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, is basically for a future project. We're not necessarily starting a project. Are we committing to a project? What is that going to be for? I read it, but it's not necessarily it's written in the way that I'm used to it. So can you explain what we are talking about right now?
What we're looking to do is to get an agreement that states that we are going to start working on this project. We need to raise money, we need to raise funds to demonstrate this as well. So in order for us to move forward through the grant process on our end, the big helpers in this to move it forward is, do you have a site? Do you have a location? Is it agreed upon? Are you able to have access? Are you able to do what you're planning on doing with this money there? So this is the beginning phases of this. It's not a commitment of monies by you. It's not a commitment of a deadline by us or anything at this point. It's just the first step into us as Solar Block continue working with contractors, continuing coming up with solutions, because there's still a few more solutions that we're working on in terms of the 6 times an hour air exchange, and how we're going to be able to do that. How much power is that going to take? What kind of units are those going to be? And we have contractors on our end that we are bringing in to help with all of this as well. So it's just kind of a handshake agreement at this point that we're going to move forward with this process, and we're going to keep updating on it, that it's going to change, that we are looking at it this way, and then we are going to agree on budgets, we're going to agree on sizing, we're going to agree on location, and move it forward that way. So it's just a very early stage for us, because we do need to write the letter of intent to the SBIR through the Department of Energy. I believe it's January 7th is our first communication with
4th.
them. The 4th.
I thought it was the 4th.
January 4th. Sorry, January 4th.
Yep.
And then after that, I believe it moves quickly into the end of February where we have to put the entire package together.
Okay.
So in terms of that, so.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
That's very helpful. So that's exactly what I'm trying to confirm before we get into our questions, that we're not necessarily committing to a project when we don't even know what the project is going to look like necessarily.
Right.
This is basically from your perspective and on your end for you to be able to go and start some conversation with the state that there's a potential site that you may be able to apply this product whenever it's approved and whenever it is ready to go.
Exactly.
And we may or may not be at that time ready for a contract. We're not necessarily committing to anything at this point.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yep. It's just us having access for my company to feel more reassured that the legwork we're doing now is going to move forward.
Okay.
So, and we are, the grant is through the federal government as well as we are going to tap the state, but we're going after the Fed first because I think that's going to take a little bit longer. And if we can get the Fed money, then I think the state money is going to be a lot easier to get for this.
That's what the politicians have told us, that if, as we are a finalist with the Federal Department of Energy, everything is moving forward. The state's ready to take a look because what we've been told in the 60s, about 80% of this Commonwealth schools were built, and they were built in the same model that our school was built, with hot water, no ventilation. So the state has a humongous problem right now on what they're going to do, on how they're going to renovate all these buildings. And so they're looking at this, that if the federal government is going to buy off on it, then they're going to put some of their effort into it as well, for the simple reason they have a bigger problem than just the town of Granby. They say that approximately 80% of the buildings, schools in this state do not have ventilation, as well as insulation. Because if you look in the 60s, gasoline was only 19 cents a gallon. Insulation costs more than the fuel. So when they built these buildings, like your building basically is a steel structured building, and your concrete blocks are only 1 3/4 inches thick, and they don't have any other insulation. I mean, technically, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, we could take all those concrete blocks out of the building and the building would still stand.
Yeah, those are
steel.
Yeah, they're just panels. So I've looked at the drawings. We've looked at the structural integrity of the building. We could remove the entire north and south walls, the exterior that you see, and it doesn't change any structure of the building at all. So it's a prime candidate for a retrofit like this. And just to let everyone know, Solar Block has just won an American-made solar award through the Department of Energy and NREL. That was launched we just found out a couple weeks ago. And by being a finalist in this candidate, we won money, we're moving forward, but they reached out to us about filling out this SBIR. So they're searching out to us to say, hey, we have money available. We'd love for you to do something. What can you guys come up with? And when we were already in talks with Jay, we said, this is fantastic. This is a home run. This fits right into where the company's going, the product itself, as well as what we had already been previously talking about with doing in the town of Granby. So, and the great thing, like I mentioned too, I can't hit it enough, where the power doesn't have to worry about getting into the grid. It's completely in the building. There's no transmission. It goes from the blocks to an inverter into the
cool.
power.
I'm sure many of these things will come out as we get into the questions, and I want to make sure that we have enough time, since I called this meeting in the middle of the day and I know that everybody had something else to do. So I will turn it to the committee members for your questions, and I know that you had several of those.
I have.
Go ahead.
So putting up the solar blocks on the building, do you take down the existing exterior, or do you put it on top? And if you lay it over it, is there a sealant in between? So if there's water leakage or anything, there doesn't become issues in between.
Great question. the install for this on your particular building would be full removal of the existing exterior in the locations that we choose to put it up. So it would only be where the solar block's going. Those panels, the existing wall would come down. We would build a new wall behind it that would be now the interior of the classroom. There would be insulation. There'd be room for running new mechanicals such as plumbing if there's needed, or electrical. And then there's going to be 2 inches of foam insulation, waterproofing, an air gap, and then the solar block. So what would need to be done with that is the exterior of the building on the ground level would have to be excavated to pour in a larger footing, because that wall would then be bumped out from the outside. The inside dimensions of the classrooms would not change at all. And there would be new windows installed in those classroom areas.
And one of the things I'll just point out then, we know IT infrastructure is a big thing because we're only going to need more bandwidth as we go. And with Jason doing this, we could put PVPC pipe or anything we wanted inside there and later snake through the fiber optic cabling for the future when we get the money from the state for the IT infrastructure. So there's a lot of benefits that if you plan it out properly, like Jason said, your plumbing could be redone, your electrical wiring could be redone. You could do additions like IT wiring. All that would be done as long as we planned it properly.
And just let me jump in. Just what is the cost to the schools, if there is any?
And now there's none. There's no cost to the schools right now. When we get to the requirements definition phase, if you wanted to add something to the existing structure, then that would all be negotiated at that point. And the town is
let me just
planning
ask
on
another
putting
way.
in.
Do we have any
Okay.
estimates of the final cost of this project? Should we go ahead and put those panels on the walls of the schools? I understand right now there's none because we're not even agreeing to anything.
Right.
What part of that project will be covered with the grant that you're writing, and what part of it, Jay just mentioned pipes, plumbing, and everything else. This is actually eventually, potentially, a substantial project that will bear the walls, and then you're going to rebuild those walls, right?
Correct.
So do we know at this point what part of that will not be covered by the grant that you're writing?
No, not at this time, because we don't know, A, how much we need to ask for, because we're still working on that in terms of a cost estimate.
Okay.
And we don't know how much the grant's going to give us. So.
Yep. Jen, go ahead.
So, to Jay's question or point, if we wanted to do any of that, putting in I'm hearing new plumbing, new windows, new, fiber optics or anything like that, that's not going to be part of your grant, right? That's something that Granby's doing. So that would be some X amount of additional money, right?
In order to install the solar block, we're writing the grant to cover what it's going to take to install the solar blocks.
So it covers the demolition of the existing brick. It covers the excavation. It covers the concrete for the new footing, the labor for the footing, all of that.
That's what we're trying to write up. Yes.
I was saying, if you wanted to add something that you don't currently have.
Right, but
then
you're
that would
saying,
be like we're putting in
I think one thing that came up, and in fact, Jen Bartos was the one who brought it up a few times, and it came up during a finance conversation also, that there is this trigger when we do things to our buildings. If those changes are seen as improvements to the building, it just triggers a code, and then we find ourselves in a situation where we need to do a lot more than what is within the scope of the project. Do you know whether or not any aspect of this project may trigger that code?
I will look into that. I know what you're talking about in terms of potential ADA, handicap, elevators, sprinkler systems, the scary stuff. I've seen it happen. in my past workings as a mason and a general contractor as a mason. We will be very careful with that and make sure that it doesn't exceed that. And if it's going to, we need to look at potential alternatives.
And that's where the state will come in. Because we're classifying this with the state as a prototype, just like we did the lights on the second floor. We couldn't get any money for the school. So we said, okay, we come up with this, when Cheryl was there, we came up with this plan to make a customized lighting plan for the school. And we used the second floor as a prototype. If you were to go to the second floor of the junior senior high school now, the lights are up there, but they're wireless. Nobody had to add any wire or anything else like that. And that's why eventually, probably in a month or so, you're going to start getting visitors to the building from schools from the eastern part of the state. They want to know how it works because there was an immense cost savings by doing the lights the way we did it versus them, as you know, running your own ductwork or wiring through the concrete is cost prohibitive.
Right. So to that point, what are, since you called it tremendous cost savings, do we have any estimates what those savings look like right now?
No, not at this time. We're, like I said, we're very, very early in this. I want everyone to understand that we're literally looking at prints and looking at dimensions. We haven't put pen to paper when it comes to costs. We haven't put pen to paper when it comes to air exchange units. On any of that, because one of the big things I wanted to make sure is that we're in agreement to keep proceeding before we get too far and it ends up saying we don't want to do this with solar block. And
jumping to the outcome of this meeting, sorry I interrupted you, but just to make sure that I'm wrapping my head around it, we were not necessarily sure. Just Jay reached out, and we're still trying to understand what what not only the project is about, but also what the scope of this meeting should be about. And what I'm understanding right now is that we're basically looking for the school department through the school committee to say that we're okay with this exploration of the opportunity at the Granby Junior Senior High School without any commitment to this project. Is that what the outcome of this conversation that we're looking for?
Correct. And then as things grow and as we get into next steps, there will be updated MOUs.
Understood.
To say, here's a budget, here's what we're getting, here's what we might need, or feedback from your team that says, Jason, we'd really like to have this. What do you think that's going to be? And can, in all of that. Yeah. So before there's anything else done with that, we need to make sure it's okay to move forward so I can go after this grant.
Okay.
So
go ahead, Jen.
I do have a question. So you've already looked at the building. Is there any sketches as to what the exterior will look like?
We have a few things that Solar Block has worked up. Since our last site visit yesterday, we're going to revisit those sketches and change them because we've already looked at, we have to change a few things on the back wall, on the south wall, the north wall rather, sorry. The field.
Okay, and then will that be forwarded to us at all so that we can have an idea of what this is going to look like, what is going to change from just looking at it, the point of view of how it looks now, and then what those changes are going to be and what it's going to look like after?
Yes. So you'll get what they call a rendering or an architectural rendering of the front of the school as well as the back of the school, and know the locations and go from there.
And in the process that has been before this, Steve Sullivan, John Sullivan, the two Sullivans, and to a lesser degree, Carol, have been involved in knowing what's going on with us about, they were even discussing can we increase the amount of solar block by reducing the number of windows. And they've had all their input into Jason already, what they would think. So the school I guess you call them the school leadership team, has already given Jason information, right, Jason?
Yeah, at this
Yeah,
time, we're
it's
kind of
basic. It's
yeah,
basic.
at this time, we're kind of coming up with what's the best solution. The problem. How do we treat this and have it be a true prototype? Not prototype. That's not the word I'm looking for, but demonstration of the technology and how to capture that, so that the goal is for this in the future that we can help with the entire school, hopefully, if things go well, and other schools to come, and not just Granby. So,
Hey, Jason, this is Adam Tarquini. We've talked, I think, through email a couple of times. I'm director of finance and operations for the school.
Yep.
And I apologize, I don't have video. I'm having some internet issues at my house. Apparently, there's an outage. This may not be for this meeting, but we have just submitted as part of our capital request to the town, some type of in-kind replacement of our unit ventilators, or trying to upgrade our current HVAC system. And I guess the question is how should we be planning to do this going forward, keeping your project in mind?
yeah, that's a great question, because we have our own HVAC contractors that we're working with. So I think we could talk offline in terms of just how to get that together, potentially, if that's all right with everybody, because I really don't have I have to think about that one. But
Okay.
I think it's solvable. It is a great question.
Yeah,
Adam.
and I don't want us to move forward with all this work, or you move forward either way, and not kind of be in talks as we go along, and then come to the end of it, we find out we didn't do something that should have tied the two projects together. So I just want to make sure that that's out there and we can talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the coordination of simultaneous projects is very key in making sure that everybody knows in terms of what's going on in the building, in terms of projects that it's talked
Yeah, I
about.
don't suppose it would move forward without all of those and more being discussed. But so that's a good question. Audrey, you had a question.
I did. So I was noting how you had said that Lexington is another town you're working with, and they chose to do an outdoor building. I didn't know if that's something, that they ended up having to do as a secondary option. I feel like there's just so much information that we still don't know yet.
Yeah, it's so Lexington, they were in the middle of construction when they found us. Our product wasn't ready for actual implementation due to the UL. So they spent the money, and the architects designed an outbuilding, like a garage for the landscape department, that would be used to showcase Solar Block, and the Solar Blocks would power that particular building on the campus as a standalone structure. So that's what Lexington is doing.
Lexington, from what I understand, the school was already funded and had contractors ready to go with their plans that have been finalized before they even knew about Solar Block. So they already had contracts in place to do stuff.
So Jason, would it be fair to kind of characterize what we're trying to do, or what you're trying to do as a company? There is an opportunity because, as Jay mentioned early on, there are many schools that were built so long ago that they may or may not have sufficient insulation. And obviously, as a state, like many other states similar to us, we're looking for opportunities to reduce energy costs and moving in the direction of renewable energy. So your company's goal is really to marry those two sides, that is, create additional insulation that doesn't exist, plus provide these panels that will generate that renewable energy. Is that why we are talking about a facade as opposed to doing what we are used to, which is, we have this large roof, and many schools do. I know that some school districts have panels on their roofs. The reason why we're going in the direction of this facade-based panel is also to provide some insulation for the building. And if that's the case, what really my follow-up is, I thought this was actually going to cover the, one section at least overall. Looks like it's patchwork almost, some part in the front, some part in the back. So I don't understand if that's one of the goals, why we would not really insulate the entire building and only, insulate the sections where these panels are going to be.
Great question. The insulation is part of the factor of doing this. And it is going to be added. By doing what we're doing, we're looking to do front and back from ground level to roof line. And we're looking to go a classroom or two wide and up, roughly. Those are the rough ideas. We have to think about a budget. So it's not going to be a patchwork. It's going to be its own standalone wall in the front and in the back. The reason we're doing front and back is because it's the north and south. We want to see the collection data for solar block. And what it's going to do is use the data points of the center room to harvest those calculations, temperature, how much energy is that center room using by sandwiching it with other rooms, both underneath it and next to it.
Okay. And that's, I apologize for the use of the word patchwork. The reason why I said it that way is because if anybody were to come to us and would ask, hey, is this building now insulated? We would say, well, 2 classroom length from ground up, yes, right here, but rest of it would still not be insulated. Is that correct? It's not part of this project.
It's not part of this project.
Okay.
This is the prototype. As when we were talking to the people from the eastern part of the state want this more than we do. A couple reasons. Our school was built in 1961. According to Karen Polito, they still have some school in operations in the eastern part of the state that were built in 1890s. They have a lot of buildings that their roofs are not structurally sound to hold anything. And they have no land to put solar fields. That's why all the solar fields are coming out here. That's why we have the Quabbin Reservoir to feed them water. The eastern part of the state is in a lot more trouble right now than us out here in the west, because we have amenities that they don't have no more.
Right.
So
and I think
that's
you're
why
spot
this is going
on,
to be yeah.
Jay, that this is the western side, and I don't know about the structural strength of the new roof that we have on our senior high school, but we also know that we have land and we have some solar farms. What I'm trying to wrap my head around is we're really going in the direction of this project. As an engineer, I enjoy having this conversation, and I like the fact that, we're looking for innovative ways of creating this energy. But also I'm trying to understand, are there easier ways for a school district like ours, where we have some land, if it's going to take only a few panels, since you're talking about a strip of the wall in the back and the front? Are we complicating things a little bit by looking at it, or am I missing something that actually is a huge benefit to having those panels on the facade of the building?
Well, I'm going to tell you, if we get to the point that we put solar block completely around the building, you still are going to use more electricity than they could produce, based upon the MEI data, which is the Massachusetts Energy Insight data. Right now, I'll just tell you, the town is looking at some land behind you that is state-owned land, that is not town-owned land, that we're looking at the possibility of putting solar fields out there to bring it on in to add to the solar block. We want all the electricity behind the meter. We do not want to attach it to the grid. Once you attach it to the grid, you're not only paying for the electricity, you're paying for the distribution of the electricity. And if you look at your own electric bill, you see it costs you more for distribution than the actual electricity itself. This electricity created by solar block is called behind the meter. And we're looking at possibly adding some solar fields in the back, which will be behind the meter, which are going to feed the schools directly. and which will immensely lower the expenses of the school. Because number one, we use the renewable and not fossil fuel energy. And number two, we're going to get rid of those distribution charges to bring it to you.
You're talking
I
about
just
this solar panel project when you say that?
Yes.
And
It's
that's all
behind the
good.
meter.
That's all good. And what you just mentioned is at least currently correct as well, that if we have the solar farms there, it doesn't just feed into our building, it is connected to the network, to the grid and all that. That's all good.
Well, that's our choice if we do
Pardon
that.
me?
That's our choice. If we don't have to go to the grid.
Right, we don't have to.
go.
But here's then the question. Are we going to be self-sufficient? My understanding, based on the scope of this project, we will not. So we will still need some type of fossil fuel to be used in our school district. Is that correct?
Well, we're looking at propane, but yes, any project you do with solar does not 100% rely on the solar, because we don't know if we're going to have cloudy days. We don't know if Mount St. Helens is going to erupt again, where we have no sunlight on the solar. So you always have to be attached to the grid. The question is, how much electricity are you going to pull off the grid and have to pay for? The less you pull off the grid, the lower your bill.
Yeah. So that's actually my next question. Is there any storage related to this project? Are we going to
The
assume that
batteries are
whatever
the
we
best.
produce? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, when the calculations are finally done from the solar block, we'll look at, I can tell you right now, the amount of electricity produced by the whole building in solar block will not meet the school campus's needs.
Yeah, understood.
I know that. Okay, so we're going to have to be attached to the grid, and we're going to have to augment that with power from the grid. The second part, which we're still exploring, is the solar fields, not on your fields. There's other property behind your fields that we're looking at getting. It's the Sandy Pines State Park, owned by Department of Conservation and Recreation. And we have a committee looking into that now, because it's multiple acres, and we could bring it directly to the school, keeping it behind the meter to augment the solar block. And we still think, based upon the amount of electricity being used between the two buildings, you're still going to have to buy some electricity from the grid, no matter what we do, because you're using just so much. I mean, a big example is you went up 9% in electricity this year over last year. And the reason is you now have 23 exhaust fans operating at 20 hours per day, which were not being run before. So that's why you're using more electricity now.
Yeah, that is correct. But that's also why we do projects like this, even when we don't install anything, to make sure that our demand and capacity are matching each other, and we optimize the systems across, whatever we're using it for.
Yeah. Whatever we use in solar, we would just discount the amount that we have to pay to the grid.
Okay.
I don't know how to say it any better than that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I don't want to hog the conversation. I know that we probably went longer, and I know at least one of our members will not be able to stay with us for the whole duration. I don't know if she dropped out already. Any other questions from our committee members?
I don't know if it's a question, but maybe an ask of like, as this project's going forward, I'd like to see a visual of what it's going to look like. I know we're saying the north and the south sides, but when I first heard this, I drove by the school and was kind of like, we have so many windows. Like, where is this actually? Like, I needed to visually see like where, and it seems like it's right where our sign is on the front of the building. You know what I mean? So I feel like that is kind of impactful too, of where we're thinking it's visually going to look, especially if this is not something that's really, like Emery's saying, and Jay, that this is not really going to fully support the school. I feel like a visual piece is important too, to kind of know what it's going to look like, what it's going to provide for us for replacing windows. I just feel like I was hoping to see a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely get that drawing out to you folks about where we're proposing to put this. And we can go from there.
I guess I'm a
And that'll
little,
be based upon information we got.
yeah.
I was gonna say, that's will be based upon the information that we've got from Stephen and the school leadership team that we've done up to this point. We're working with them, right, Jason?
Yep.
Yeah.
I saw
And-
Stephen there for a while. but
Yeah,
I
actually,
think-
I want to ask Stephen and Carol, or Adam, just if you have anything to ask or anything to add.
This is Adam. I don't,
Okay.
to be honest, I wasn't really prepared for this to go more than, I guess, just saying that we approved, quote unquote, them going for the grant. I mean, I'm sure we can have
Right.
further discussions, but I don't have anything right now. No.
Yeah, no, I think we're on the same page on that one.
Yeah, we are too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought this was too, that we were just supporting.
Well, we did not, because we did not even know about this until 2 days ago. So we're having this conversation so that we're up to speed and we can, in a thoughtful way, at least say, go ahead and explore. And I'm relieved that it's just an exploration. It's not necessarily a binding project right now. So that's at least from my perspective, that's good.
Yeah,
Emery.
you framed that correctly. That's exactly what it is. It's an exploration forward to see what we can do here.
Jen?
Emery, Stephanie is having some trouble connecting. She's trying to say something, so I don't know if she can
Okay. Do you
mute
know
or not.
Do you know which number
She's I think 548-5727.
I think.
But
we
what she had
have-
said was she would like to know if there are pictures of the rendering for the Lexington project that we can see, just to see what it looks like up. Kind of goes to Audrey's point about seeing something. Yeah, that's what she wants to know, is if there's some photos of that Lexington project either in existence or the rendering, just so we have some idea. Do you have any of that you could show us now?
Yeah, the Lexington project is in rendering. We haven't physically built anything there yet. So it's just in rendering form right now that we have from Kessel Boo's architecture firm that drew up a plan for us.
That
Yep.
90-second video, Jason, that has a wall that's already pre-built. The one over Chicopee Basin.
That's in Chicopee
If
Basin.
you watch that, yeah. If you look at the 90-second video, which is one of your links to YouTube, you're going to see what the wall is actually going to look like with the solar block. Right, Jason?
Yeah, and keep in mind that the Chicopee wall was built a year ago,
Yep.
and the blocks and the technology of that are approximately 2 years old. Our latest and what we're going to market with is different than what's physically at Chicopee. So if you see something there, it's not a reflection of where we are today and what the blocks are going to be.
Okay.
I
Did
have
everybody have a
one
chance?
more question.
Go ahead, Jen.
So if we agree to go forward with the MOU, Audrey's making faces at me in my robot voice.
No, you're good.
You're fine.
Okay. If we choose to go forward with this and then we get to the point where we start getting more figures and numbers and everything, is there any penalty for us if we decide to not go forward with it at that point?
No, not at
Okay.
all.
I just wanted to hear it. I didn't think so, but I just
No,
kind of
good
want to make sure that we're not, somehow going to be liable for expenses to you for doing all this work.
The bottom line of this whole thing, you look at it this way. We're involved with the Federal Department of Energy that's got some money. Okay. The state has some money. Does Granby have any money? We all know the answer to that. So that's why we're trying to piggyback on all this stuff and make the improvements of the building as best we can at the least cost to the town, because the town really doesn't have that much money. And it's just like the lights we did on the second floor. That was 100% paid for by basically the state. It wasn't by us because we don't have it. And as Emery has pointed out, that building needs so much work. You could hit the trigger point at any time. But with the work that we're doing incrementally between the lights, between the boiler room, uh, and the solar block, we're actually making the building more viable to getting an MSBA repair loan, which don't even qualify for now, right, Emery?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't say no definitively. Just, those are all different letters of intent that need to be
Yeah.
sent, and then just like this is an exploration. That is an
Right.
exploration each time there's a project.
Yeah, because I have talked to Steve Sullivan, and on the DESI website, they don't even have what's out for MSBA for FY21 yet. Because we were
That
looking
is
for,
that part is correct. That
we
is
were,
correct.
we
Yeah.
were looking for windows and stuff like that, is what we
Yep.
were looking for.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
But going back to, just to clarify and going back to what Jen just said,
Mhm.
and what you said also, Jay, this is really to find out about the availability of funds, but the
Mhm.
suitability of this project for our school district will be discussed and determined later. So right now we're not committing to anything more than saying, okay, go ahead and explore. We're not starting a project. We're not committing to any financial terms. We're not committing to any projects, any visuals, nothing. This is basically giving our okay for someone to say, if everything goes well and the Granby School District agrees to it, we may have a site where we're going to be able to use this new technology, sometime in the future.
Right, and then with Jason's letter on the 4th, he has to, the letter of intent, has to tell the Department of Energy what he's gonna do, but also he's gonna tell where he's gonna do it. We wanna be to where he's gonna do it, if it fits our needs.
Okay, I think that's good. So unless there are any other questions, and Jason, if you have anything else to add for us to wrap this up, was there anything else? And Stephen, actually, feel free to jump in. I mentioned your name, but feel free to jump in with anything that you might want to add.
I don't think I have anything to add right now. I've met with Jason and Jay a couple of times. I think like Audrey, the first few times we talked about it, I had a difficult time visualizing it, but last time I did a walkthrough with Jason, I think I have a much better picture, and I don't think it's going to look perfect because it won't do every window and but I think it does meet some of the needs that we're looking to in our capital plan, in terms of heating, room temperature control, air conditioning is not even something in the capital request, but those types of things. So certainly interested in learning more through the process. So hopefully we can at least get some more information so we can decide what works best for us.
Okay. And Jason, you mentioned an architectural firm that we are, what was the name? I should remember.
Kessel Booze.
Castle Booze. We actually, I think, did work with them in the past. So we're, I'm glad that you have some architectural firm involved so that it doesn't, appear as if, we have these panels here, some wall, we're going to stick them, to that wall and it's going to be done. There will be a lot of work on the architectural side as well, so that our building looks nice, if and when this project, happens in Granby schools. So, personally, I'm happy to hear about an innovative approach to finding some solutions for our schools. I'm happy that, aside from that, outside our schools, there are a lot of thoughtful pieces of work in progress to innovate for renewable energy. So that's awesome as well. And I appreciate Jay and the Energy Committee bringing this to us, and Jason, you coming in and sharing this with us. But given that this is basically the school committee giving its okay for the exploration, unless there are any other questions, I will ask for a motion to basically approve the exploration of a solar panel project at the junior senior high school, without any other commitment. Any way you would like to say that motion, then I would like to discuss that. Nobody wants to repeat what I said, right? Even I don't know.
I was gonna just say, so moved.
All right, so our motion, then let me just tell you what I think the motion is going to be. The school committee will approve the exploration of a solar panel project at the junior senior high school. Understanding that this is not a commitment to any financial or project work at this point in time.
Should it say instead of solar panel project, say Solar Block, the company that it?
Solar, maybe we should say not solar panel. That's a good thought. Maybe solar energy project.
I think
With-
it should be what Audrey said, because it's really, we're not opening this up to several other things. This is, as I'm understanding that,
Okay,
we're
I'm
not
good
going to
with
be
that.
asking other
Let's just
things.
name
It's
the company.
specifically for Solar Block, right?
Good point. Good point. Thank you for that.
Yeah, good.
All right. So, Jacqueline, were you able to capture that? I mean, we can listen back to it, but this is basically the school committee will approve the exploration of a solar energy project with Solar Block without any commitment to financials or project work.
Okay.
Is there a motion to go with that?
I was going to say, yes, I'll second it. I thought Jen
No,
was.
who has the motion to begin with?
I said so moved to your
Okay,
words.
all right, thank you. And
So I'll
second,
second.
you're second. Okay, any other questions or discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you all very much. Jason, thank you for coming. Jay, thank you as always. And I will write a very quick letter and send it to the select board. I will email and I will try to put it in the mailbox in physical format as well at the town hall. Hopefully that will be sufficient for the select board to move forward with it.
And for the record, Stephanie voted aye.
Just to let you know.
Thank you.
And just for you all to know, the select board will be meeting, I think it's 4:30 on the 20th to sign it off for the town.
Okay, great.
So we just need a copy of your email or something for you that the school committee has no problem with it, so we can move forward for the town.
Okay.
And we're doing it 4:30 on the 28th.
And if you want to watch a great meeting, you can always go back to this meeting and watch it and confirm it. So, all right. Well, thank you both very much again. We have one more item on our agenda, and we're going to continue the meeting for a very short while. And but thank you both again.
I'd like to thank everybody very much for moving this along and supporting Solar Block, and very excited to work in the future with all of you and really put something very amazing together.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason.
All right, I'm going to log
Nice to
off.
meet
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
Emery,
Yes.
before I sign off, do you want an update on the current green community stuff, or just, it's up to you?
Is
I
that
usually give it to Steve every week.
you're talking about the
I usually give
LED
it to Stephen
lighting
every week.
and all that?
The LED lighting, the boiler controls, stuff like that.
Yeah, we already had the updates on those last meeting, unless there anything changed since last week. We Adam actually updated us on what was happening with those at our meeting.
Okay, I don't know exactly what Adam said, so I
Okay,
don't
so
know.
go ahead, give us a minute version
Okay.
of it.
Okay, all the LED lights on the second floor are installed. We were having a configuration issue, and you never guess what we found out the problem was. That building is so leaky that the wind was blowing through the windows, and we had the sensitivity so high on the motion sensor lights, it was leaving the lights on all the time. So we're lowering the sensitivity level on the motion sensor lights, so the lights don't stay on all the time.
All right. You
So
can put
that's another
clappers.
example. That's another example why that building needs a lot of work. I mean, when you get the wind blowing against the windows and it turned the lights on, there's something wrong there, right? But Patrick and I will be working on reconfiguring those lights because energy source work isn't done. But Patrick and I are going to resolve that issue. Also, with the LED lights that you have on the first floor in the hallways, they were not configured properly. Next week, Patrick and I are gonna go over and we're gonna reconfigure all them. So when you all come back after the 4th, your lights should be done. Perfect. Don't even worry about it. As far as your boiler room goes, you know you have a redundant system, 2 boilers, and you only need 1 boiler to heat the building. Out of that, each boiler has 1 circulating pump. 1 is completely dead and 1 is on its last leg. Well, the one that's been completely dead has been replaced. In fact, you're running on it right now. The new one is running on the system. So if your one on its last leg died, we don't care because
All
you're
right.
gonna have heat.
Good.
The other one will be put in next week. The problem with the circulating pumps, the new ones are so large, they wouldn't fit on the pad. So we had to pour a larger cement pad, and that's what's causing the delay on getting those circulating pumps. If you go into the boiler room now, they see the wall, all the new controls will be mounted on the wall, and that'll all be done by Energy Source by 31 December. And then because you've chosen Advanced Logic, they're not able to come in and do the software interface until January, the first week of January. Then you should be all done.
Cool. That's awesome to hear. I really appreciate it. And, you know, as I said about the project that we just discussed, really appreciate the work that your committee is doing. I know that sometimes, you know, our communication crosses by each other, but really appreciate the fact that we are, you know, working together and all the things that are being accomplished at the school district. So thank you for that, Jay. And thank you for the committee.
welcome.
Thank you to your committee as well. Please let them know.
I will. The only thing that Cheryl, Jason, and I have been working on this for 3 years. Is there another way that we should do communication so there's more involved, up to date? Because like you're just getting it now as you spoke, but this has been information that we've been going back and forth with Cheryl for 3 years. You guys don't have to answer me now. You can think about how you want to do it.
I think this is going to be part of our comprehensive conversation around that. So, but you know, it's all good now. I think we're all on the same page. And I actually was seeing some email that has been circulated because of Carol, but it's good to be able to have these conversations in person. I completely agree, to be able to ask some of those questions.
That's fine. Like I said, you know, is a change of over there with Cheryl leaving and Carol taking over. And like I say, Carol didn't even know the solar block existed until I showed her the PowerPoint presentation, and it was dated 2 years ago. Nobody had informed her. And I'm getting right now, nobody had informed the school committee either.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually found out about the press release, and I was, you know, okay, there's a press release, but now I understand what it was about, so it's all good.
And in fact, the press release hasn't been released yet because the politicians from Massachusetts want to sign on more on. So Jason's had to hold off on that too.
There you go.
Okay, I'll get lost. You all have a nice holiday. And,
you too, Jay.
Yep. And Stephen and Carol know on the 28th, we'll be over there with National Grid, and we'll be working on the lights and finishing up the boiler room that week. Okay?
Okay.
Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you. Yep. Happy holidays. See ya.
Yep.
Bye.
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 All right. Thank you, everyone, for that. Really appreciate everybody making time for this. Carol, now it makes sense. All that stuff that you forwarded to me, you know, the press, you know, when I saw the press release and all the other stuff, now I know what we're talking about. Just to quickly get to that second item, if there is a need for it. Do you have something to add, Carol?
I just wanted to let you know that I reached out to all of the teachers and all of the paraprofessionals for both the high needs preschool and the two.
Okay, so we're jumping to the second item. Good, go ahead.
Two sub-separate classrooms. And I have 100% commitment that they want to be in the building.
This is for the high needs population that we said at our last meeting would come back on January 4th. And
Right.
that population was already determined who is included in that.
Right. There was a confusion with me posting integrated preschool when you people when the motion said preschool for the 11th, but we have peer partners preschoolers and we have high needs preschoolers.
Yeah.
So
So the high need preschoolers will be coming back on the 4th. The
Yes.
peer partners will be coming back on the 11th.
yes,
Is that correct?
yes, and that's what Bill put in his weekly update last time and this time, notifying the delineation.
Okay. All right. That's good clarification. Questions?
Wait a minute, can you please say that again? Because I'm pretty sure our motion said, you know, on the 11th, pre-K, which is as a whole. We didn't separate anything else out. So
Okay,
on
so
the
that's why
11th, all of
that's
the
why we have
pre-K
the
should
second
be
item,
coming.
Jen. We can, if we
Yeah.
need clarification, that's why we're on
Well,
record
what she
right now.
just said, she said we're having pre-K come back on the 4th, and that's where I'm hung up because I don't understand what.
We
High
Go ahead,
needs.
Carol.
high needs pre-K. We have, if we have students in pre-K that are on IEPs that are significantly developmentally delayed. And so they are included in the high needs population. We also have peer partners because it's an integrated program, because we want, if you have a class of all students who are delayed and you want to sing a song and nobody's singing the song, you know, when you have typical kids working with kids with special needs, they learn quicker. So we have half the class, 7 students. We don't have that many in preschool right now, but most class have 7 students on IEPs and 8 student peers. So when I think of our high needs, if you're a preschooler and you're on an IEP, you're delayed and you have significant needs that we need to work on. And it's hard enough to get preschoolers to learn when they're in the classroom, let alone trying to get a preschooler to pay attention to a computer.
Right, but they should have been included in the special populations that we were coming back on the 4th. So I guess that,
Can I?
yeah, of course.
So my thought process was it was all high needs. So to me, that included the pre-K that were high needs because it was all high need students.
Right.
And then those students that were not high needs, which was pre-K, were not included because those are not high need students. So part of them wouldn't be able to come back until the 11th. But the pre-K students that are high needs would come back before then.
Right. If we thought about it a little differently, we said on the 11th we would have pre-K KM1 coming back, but we're going to have students from KN1 who are high needs who will come back on the 4th, just like now we're saying pre-K. Is that correct, Carol?
Yeah.
So basically we're clarifying the fact that when we said pre-K, and thank you for bringing that up, when we said pre-K for 11th, that's not the entirety, because some of those students in pre-K, just like other grades, they are considered high need, and they're going to come back with that high need population on the 4th. And whoever is not considered high need in pre-K, along with those students who are not considered high need in K and 1, they will come back on the 11th of January. Does that make more sense, Jen?
And can anyone hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Okay. So as I'm here, I got kicked out of the meeting, but I'm trying to be in on the phone. So Emery, now I'm listening to you saying it, and I'm hearing you also looping in kindergarten and first grade high needs kids.
Yeah. Well,
So,
high needs are high needs. We did not, high needs are high needs. We did not necessarily go and say the high needs group includes these grades. We always called them high needs students, and it was understood that it included multiple grades.
Right.
So what we are clarifying right now is that because the motion that was made was pre-K K1 for return on the 11th, we are clarifying that it's not the entire pre-K that is coming back on the 11th. Those who are considered high needs in pre-K, they will be coming on the 4th with all the other high needs students, and those who are not considered high needs, they will be coming on the 11th with the other students that we
I
mentioned.
think, Emery, I have 2 things, but I think part of this comes is that the way the messaging went out is it reads that pre-K was coming back on the 4th. And, you know, there was never any question that there was special populations were returning on the 4th. No one's denying that. No one's questioning that. As long as the teachers involved, and it sounds like Carol has polled them and we're in 100% agreement there, that's fine. The question is, the way the messaging reads is that pre-K is returning on the 4th. And the problem, for lack of a better word, is that the way we had things written, the motion was pre-K returns on the 11th. And so there should never have been any question whether or not students that are deemed special needs or high population were returning on the 4th, because that's the way we voted it through. I think the problem that, disconnect is that the way people were interpreting the message is that all of pre-K is returning on the 4th, and that was not what we voted for. So I know that I heard from some different people that was where the question was, which is why I had sent you a text saying, I think that there's a problem here. It's not to do that of course there can be special populations for pre-K.
Yeah.
No one's denying that.
Yeah.
The question is about the messaging that makes it sound like the entirety of pre-K is coming back.
So first of all, as a committee, are we all on the same page right now with this conversation that we had? Are we all understand? I mean, I just want to clarify that so that we don't necessarily find ourselves in the same situation. So we're clear with the message that we're sending, correct?
Honestly, I feel like this, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm feeling a little more confused because the whole words of the special needs versus the high needs versus, like, are we talking any kid on an IEP? Like, I feel like our conversation is starting to use so many words that
No. So
I didn't think so either. That's why I want to just now really make this clear.
I apologize. I put in my message integrated preschool. I probably should have put high needs preschoolers, but I put integrated because it's an integrated program. I know that Bill put in his message home that peer partners would return on the 11th. And he did that 2 weeks in a row. But when I because of the confusion, that's why Emery brought it back, because we have notified the peer partners and we have notified the students on IEPs, the families.
The special population, not all students on an IEP. Again,
Correct.
just to
Correct.
further clarify.
Only-
Yeah, I understand, but I want to make sure it's very clear as we're wording this right now.
The ABA, students in the ABA program and students in structured learning and our high needs preschoolers on IEPs are the students that are coming in on the 4th.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Carol.
And all of the teachers and all of the paraprofessionals that support all those students said that they were coming in.
So we confirm that part too. That's what you're saying. This turned a lot more complicated than I imagined, but I appreciate that everybody's asking the questions. Do we need to amend the motion? Would that make everyone feel more comfortable so that we basically put this behind us? And if so, can somebody please make the motion as we discussed right now?
I'll make the motion to amend it as we discussed.
Okay, so that is basically all high need students are coming back on the 4th, and all the students who are not high needs from pre-K, K, and 1, they're coming back on the 11th. Is that correct? Is that the motion you are?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I can second.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I just want to question, as we're going forward, I mean, I know we said on the 4th, we would be discussing, what it means when we're in the red, where we're going when we're in the red. And I feel like I'll have further clarification at that point in that juncture about how we're going to continue moving forward. Because I kind of had it in my head of, do we need to be watchful of, still coming back on the 4th, depending, because our numbers, if you look, they're still climbing each day. I don't know, like, it's in my head of, are we still watching and going forward?
So if you're asking in general, we're always watching. And if
Correct.
the
Like,
answer
I just watched the Board of
Yeah.
Health meeting last night, and I know they gave basically their stamp of approval of this special populations and that coming in on the 4th. But I also just feel like, making sure when we have that meeting on the 4th, that we have some clarity of how we're going to have a clear plan in place as we're going forward, I guess.
Yep. So we do monitor, we continue to monitor. We actually receive weekly reports from the Board of Health. So, we're making all the motions and we're making all the decisions, but at the end of the day, that tracking and monitoring will be an important decision-making point for us. If things change dramatically, we would have to really, look back and see what we need to do. So if the numbers are going up exponentially, we're not going to say, hey, you know what, on what is today, December 23rd, we said we were coming back and we're not going to change it. That's not what we're going to do. If the situation evolves in the negative direction and we need to take action, we will take that action.
Okay,
Does that answer your question, Audrey?
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Hey guys, can you finally hear me?
Well, we can hear you. We can't see you.
All right, well, it's a step in the right direction because I've been here the
All
whole time. Like, I swear I'm with you. I'm sending screenshots. The internet is working against me today. Happy birthday.
Yes,
Thank you.
happy birthday.
Oh, you shouldn't be on. You should be out doing birthday stuff.
Actually, she had to be off at 4 o'clock. So let's go ahead, Stephanie, and let's wrap up with you.
I just want to have dinner at some point that's not like 9 o'clock. That's all. Just for clarification, and I think it would help go through this, the high needs, special needs. Carol, do you have a number for each building of how many students that is?
I believe it is 10 at the high school, and I think it's around 20 at East Meadow.
Okay, thank you. I think just even hearing those numbers and out there, it really helps us not think that when sometimes we use the words of high needs and then we say special needs, it can sound like it's a much bigger group. I just want to make sure that's clear that this is definitely our highest needs. It's a small group.
Yes.
And thank you for that survey. I think that really was very helpful.
And I have a note from last meeting, 10 students on the high school side, and I think it's 20 students on the 20 or 22 students on the East Meadow side.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. All right. So we had a motion. We had a second. Unless there are any other questions or comments. Okay. All in favor to approve the motion, please say aye.
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 All right. Anything else as we wrap up our what is now the last meeting of 2020? All good. So again, thank you so much, all of you, for making the time for this meeting, which went well beyond I thought. But I appreciate the fact that we're going to be able to say unanimously to the select board, we don't mind exploring the solar energy project. Go ahead with it. So that's great. But I also appreciate this conversation. This is actually a helpful thing. Just because we say something at a meeting, if it needs clarification, we should have these conversations. The unfortunate thing, we have to call a meeting to have it because we can't have the side conversations. But other than that, this is healthy, at least from my perspective, for us to want to clarify and make sure that we are sharing the same message with our community. So with that, I wish you all a very happy holiday, a very happy new year. Hopefully 2021 is a lot better than 2020. And we'll see you all on January 5th. Enjoy your little break. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.